It's early April here out in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, which is about, the western part of kind of the center of the state. So this area off to the side of my yard here, it was always overgrown, and really, I didn't really have a lot of time back when I was working full-time to maintain it or do much with it, so it was just kind of messy. So right now it looks like nothing's in there, looks like it's just empty, but this area I refer to as the Furnfield, because once we get into the season, looks like nothing's happening right now, but as you can see, in the early part of April, we're already starting to get the ferns starting to grow here. And when this gets fully kicked in another month or so, this will be completely covered with ferns, and it has a real nice look. I try to use the area and the natural growth that I get to at least try to make the area look a little nicer. So again, there was some trees in here that I cut out, and I try to pick up as many of the sticks as possible and then blow some of the leaves, but then run my lawnmower over some of the remaining leaves to just have them break down, because that's what would happen anyhow if the leaves just laid on the ground. But I try to accelerate that decomposition of them by crushing them up, chopping them. So we'll see what it looks like in another few weeks. It's April 6th today, and then we'll give it a couple of weeks and we'll track the progress of the Furnfield. So there you are so far. So now it's April 17th, and here's what the Furnfield looks like. It's really starting to kick in. The ferns are really starting to grow, so we try to avoid walking around in there, kind of stay out now and let it grow and let it fill in. So this area, each year the ferns get tighter and tighter and they fill in. In the bed I still got a few bare spots here and there, but once it gets even a little more grown, then we'll have to take another look as to how they're growing. But as you see, the ferns are really kicking in, and I try to just use what's naturally here to enhance my property and just have it look nice without being overly processed. So I'll have a later video showing even more progress, but down here these already are pretty far along, so they really get growing, and that's what grows through this whole area, these ferns. So that's just another update on the Furnfield River. So my property, these 4 acres, is just the woods. As you can look around, it is just trees, and then the trees and branches fall and they create a lot of leaf litter that builds up in the sticks. I pick up those sticks all across my property and then run them through my chipper, but it's really a lot. So a lot of, I'd say 3/4 of my property is just the woods like this. It's just unfinished. It's just the wild woods. That's my neighbor's property there. That's like my closest neighbor. And then those houses through the trees, they weren't here when I moved in, but so they're closing a little bit. But I have a little 4-acre slice of the woods out here. So like I said, the leaves fall every year. You don't do anything with them, you don't move them, they just build up and build up. And the leaf litter on the ground just continues to build up year after year. And then trees fall, as we see, sticks, trees. So right now it's April 17th and the trees are just starting to sprout. So it's not going to be long until they really fill in. So the front of my property, when I moved, I've been here for 30 years, was just like the rest of this woods area. It was just the woods where you really couldn't walk out there. I mean, you could walk through here, but it's a lot that you have to look out, and there's rocks and stuff. So I decided at the front of my property to at least kind of tame the woods. And in the same vein as the Furnfield, I call this the semi-wild. So let's take a walk through there. I didn't want to have to maintain grass. That would have been a lot of work to plant grass through here. There's a lot of rocks that poke through the ground. You can see that this little rock divider between my neighbor and myself, that was all rocks that just came out of the ground here. You can see these here that are just poking out of the ground. Because as you see, there could be more out in that area, but with all the leaf litter and sticks and branches, you just don't see them. And then when you clear them away, so in this area, you know, rather than do grass, I decided just to keep it the woods, but the woods tamed. So what I've done through here is cut down a lot of these little trees, such as these that you see there, and pick up, you know, and I'm constantly picking up sticks. They fall every day, there's new sticks. And then I ran my lawnmower over the leaves to chop them up. And then the wood chips that I make from the sticks that I pick up, I spread wood chips on the ground. So now you can walk through this area, and right now, you know, the trees aren't fully in, but we'll refresh this video when the trees are fully in bloom and the leaves are out, and you'll see what a nice shaded grotto this is. So, but it's a matter of now maintaining the leaves. You know, some get blown, some get moved around, but you can't physically move every leaf. So I make sure they're getting an area where there's no rocks or a stump, and then I chop them with my lawnmower, and this area then becomes a nice little area where you can walk around and especially enjoy the shade when the trees come out. And it's kind of the natural habitat being used and not really altered too heavily. You know, we get the moss growing here, so that's nice. I try to advise people to mind the moss, to not step on it and let it grow naturally. And it's just a natural area. You know, I kind of not going to overuse it, over process it. You know, and then like the Furnfield, we'll get ferns, but not as many. But they're starting to grow too. So we're getting ferns, we're getting the moss, and then we just keep picking up sticks and continuing to do it. Some of this longer stuff we may cut with the lawnmower, just to, and some of the weeds. We do get a few weeds, but not as many. And then this is where my gas is. That's gas henge, because at one time a contractor ran over and broke the valve off and sent propane shooting sky high for hours. So there was that. So as with the Furnfield, we'll revisit this as the seasons moves on a little bit. And the plan is to extend the semi-wild out into this area, and I'll also show what that looks like before and after. But right now This is just the wild woods, and we'll see what happens from there. So, see you soon. So here we are, back at the Furnfield. It's now May 12th, so we can see now that the Furnfield is pretty much fully developed. And it's very shady. It's about 1:15 in the afternoon, and the trees have all spread. They've all have their leaves out. So now this area is pretty shady through most of the day. But you can see the ferns have grown. There's a few spots where there's still some little ones that have to fill in here. But the main body of ferns are all grown. So from what looked like nothing, there's very lush green carpet of ferns. We put these rocks around here just to delineate the fern field. So now they're all grown in. And then we also will look at the semi-wild, which is up here. The trees have also grown in the semi-wild area that we looked at. We got Cash with us here to take a look. I'm gonna walk out there and see what that looks like. Very shady now. Again, it's still about 1:15 in the afternoon on May 12th. So the semi-wild is just that. It's the woods, but it's been sanitized a bit. It's been made more habitable. Not all the leaf litter. We get various things growing. Get some mushrooms. And of course the ever-present ferns. And again, the wood chips. We still get a lot of sticks. Some wildlife there. Chipmunk that Cash sees. We have the moss now is fully grown. There's a chipmunk hole. Again, we have some ferns growing in gas henge. You can comfortably walk through here and not step on the ferns or step on the moss and just let them do their thing. It's very comfortable to walk in here. The ground from years of leaf litter and the wood chips, it's actually kind of spongy, kind of comfortable to walk on. So it's still very rocky in spots, but that's what was in this ground before we cleared it up. And here we're going to set up a little seating area, and we can look down all over the valley there, which is our front yard, and here the stream that will show in a different clip. But we're wrapping up the Furnfield and the semi-wild. As I mentioned earlier, it's just an alternative to planting grass up here. My neighbor has nice grass, but he also has a wide open area. But that's grass to maintain. I have grass in my backyard, and even that doesn't grow that well around here. A lot of shade, a lot of trees, a lot of stuff on the ground. So we'll conclude our little look at the semi-wild in the Furnfield. Little nice moss there. And maybe we'll follow up with some more videos of what it's like to chisel out a little slice of home property from Mother Nature, where it was just the woods and nothing else. Bye-bye. And then here we have Cash. Hello, Cash. How are you today, puppy? Let's see this face. Oh, he's cute. He's a cute man. Right, Cashy? Cashy, sit. 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 Sit, Cashew. Cashew, sit. No, I'm scared. I'm scared now. You're telling me to do things. And I don't know.